Hey everyone, how you doing? We are coming to you live this morning. We're going to take your carnivore questions and discuss everything carnivore for the next hour. I'm here with Liz. Liz, how are you doing?
Hello, everybody. Good. We're doing really good, actually.
Awesome. Um, Liz, for people that don't know you, could you just do a quick introduction for us?
Sure. I have the Carnivore Science channel, and my career path was I'm a medical technologist and pharmaceutical chemist. I've been doing working in pharmaceuticals for about pharmaceuticals in the medical industry for about 30 years. So I was in the belly of the beast for a really long time. Now I do medical devices because they don't typically kill anybody, which is great because, my soul and everything, I just really didn't want to. I've started selling my soul, waking up in the morning and looking at my children and wanting to cry. So that's my background. But I was a carnivore. I've been a carnivore for 3 years. So it cured. I was a fat, sick, horrible person. And now it's just like, I have more energy than my children, so that's great.
Oh, awesome.
That's the
Um,
short version.
Yeah, and so just for people who may be coming on my channel, your channel is Carnivore Science. Yeah,
Yep, yep.
yeah, awesome. So everyone, as you come in, please say hello. Let us know where you're coming in from, and I'll flash it up on screen. Also, what was I going to say? That's what I was going to say. I lost it for a second there. Please put a Q in front of any questions or anything you'd like us to discuss, and we will get to those. And from Oregon Grape, love Lisa's sense of humor, wise woman
Oh,
too.
thank you, thank you. I'm so snarky and sarcastic. I'm like, sometimes it rubs people the wrong way, but thank you.
Yeah, I think sarcasm is one of the best kinds of humor, to be honest.
Mhm.
I
Me
really
too.
enjoy. So when I was growing up, one of the TV shows that I loved watching was Roseanne, and it
Oh,
was because
yes.
of the sarcasm.
Yep,
I loved the sarcasm.
yep, yep. She
Yeah,
was the best. Yep.
yeah. Okay, Officer Magoo, good night from Dublin,
Mm.
Mendocino. Hey,
Where's
how
that
you
at?
going?
Where's Mendocino?
Yeah. Where
Oh,
is that? G Culgian? Sorry, I'm mispronouncing it. Paul, how you doing? And Margaret coming in from New
wow.
Zealand. Okay, Burns Aquatics from Michigan. And Christy RN from Galveston State Park, Texas. Nice. Awesome. So Liz, we were talking before about one of the things you've just been doing before you came on the live stream. Did you want to share?
Sure. Well, I was saying that, the stupidest thing to do right before a live stream, is to cut your dust bowl of a yard, basically. But I'm grateful that I can do it because, in the South, it's like everything in October, everything turns to just cruggly old nasty dry grass, and it just turns into it's just horrible. And I just did that. So my eyes are a little bit bloodshot. I'm not on the weed or anything, but the thing that's the bittersweet about it is because now it's like I can do. Oh, it's in California. Um,
Mm,
I can do these things, which is amazing because I mean, I use the push mower just for fun sometimes, which sounds crazy. Not this time because it was just god awful, but like in the summertime, like I can cut most of my yard, which is an acre I can just do it with the push mower. And I'll just do it because I have so much energy from being on the carnivore diet. Now it's like I'm kind of glad about the yard work, but at the same time, not this time of year, but
mm,
um
yeah. Um, so in Australia, it's especially where I'm from, Victoria, it's a drought place. Yeah, there's hardly
Mhm.
any water. And one of the things that surprised me on a recent visit was a lot of people have got fake grass in their front yard. You know,
Like
like the
AstroTurf?
stuff, yeah, yeah, like the stuff they used to put in the freezer section at the
Mhm.
supermarket. Yeah. So, but
That's
it,
really
it looks
funny.
good because it's very green, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's kind of weird.
Well, it's like living in Florida, here everything starts to get dead, but, like, Florida was green and beautiful year round, but
Mm.
here it's just like 'cause the grass literally dies. I don't know if you know this because you're from a different, part of the world, but, the grass is and I forgot what the name of the grass is, but it's meant to die. So everything turns, like,
Oh.
yellow and god awful, like, when it gets to be fall. So, I mean, it's so depressing, and you look around, there's no leaves on the tree. It looks like I don't know, some kinda horror set. So, it's like you have to look at that for, like, 3 or so months, but then we get spring pretty early, and we don't have a lot of you don't have lots of snow and lots of bad weather, so it's kind of
Mm.
a trade-off, but it is depressing to look at for sure, so but
Mm. Mm.
Florida is gorgeous to look at 24/7, so but it is 100 and it's like 175 degrees there in the summertime, so, it's
Yeah.
horrible. My
So
kids when your children go outside and they're, like, riding their bicycles when they're, like, I don't know, before they're around 10 years old or whatever, and children, like, go ride for about 5 minutes and come in going, "I can't take it," like, it's bad, you
yeah,
know it's bad.
yeah. Um, so just on the work that you've done over over the last 30 odd years, you mentioned as a pharmaceutical chemist. What are some of the more surprising things that people may not know about the way I don't know, studies are
Everything works.
formulated or yeah, yeah, how
Yeah.
everything works.
Yeah, the dude behind the curtain and everything, yeah.
Mm,
It's, I think that the biggest shock for me was that, there's so much corruption when you look at all of these companies that are doing all these studies and stuff, it's like
mm,
all of the people that are in, like, say, the FDA are people who came from all of these companies, and people who came from all these companies it's like vice versa. Like, it's all like a pool of, like, people and influence and stuff like that, and when you look at especially a lot of the testing, because I did testing, there's testing, there's drugs, I mean, 'cause I made, actual clinical trial materials for years, and that's
mm,
horrifying. That was the worst thing to watch. Um, I told all my family members, I'm like, "You better be about to just drop dead if you ever go into any kind of clinical trial. Like, don't go anywhere near, like, trials." You know what I mean? Because 'Cause they're just really scary, but,
mm,
um, when you're looking at all of this stuff, people forget that when you have a test being formulated and you have a drug being formulated, when they're studying it, um, it's at some point they have data or they have data points, right? But at some point, someone has to stop and go, "This means X." Okay, so you just came to a conclusion. And
mm,
if you're talking about something that's affected by nutrition, then here's a good example. Okay, it's hard to explain, but here's a good example. So Nick Norowitz took a bunch of Oreo cookies and
mm,
changed his LDL level, right? So if you're doing a clinical trial on, say, statins or whatever,
mm,
like, and you know that all you got to do is eat a cookie and for like a week and or cookies for a week and you're gonna drastically how on earth do you know what unless you're like I said, if you're before I've said this before, you're locking people up and you're feeding them what you want them to eat and you're making sure they don't get anything that's going to contradict the results. How on earth is that even possible? It doesn't even make any sense, like to
mm,
me as a scientist, because anytime you do any kind of scientific testing, it's in vitro in the test tube, right? Not in
right.
vivo, right? So when that's why I think nutrition science is an actual oxymoron. Like I don't see any way you can control. I think that you can sometimes get information, But the way that they come to the conclusions at the end of the study is what was shocking to me. And I'm like, how would you know this? How do you know this is okay? Or how much is enough? How much did you look at? How many people did you look at? That kind of thing. So that was shocking to me. And it really got even more shocking when I went carnivore. So, I mean, to
Mm.
realize that diet fixes a lot of this stuff, but you're selling drugs. Why are you know what I mean? It's like the standard of care needs to be the diet first. And then, like, if you want to have drugs, things that you can't fix for whatever reason, like, then, resort to the drug part. But they don't ever even consider it. So that was really the biggest wake up.
So, just following on from that, you said at some point they've got to kind of say, okay, well,
Mhm.
this trial is over and these are the
Mhm.
results, right? So the thing with that is, if you can stop it whenever, then
Mhm.
you just go, well, we've got a good result now. If we leave it one more day, then things could get bad. Let's stop it
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
I-
and then they don't do it and I think it's different depending on what it is and the protocols for the execution of the studies themselves. They're regulated, right? And so you have a study director and you have nurses and doctors and all this kind of stuff in there and statisticians because they're randomized, right? So if you're giving people and the randomization part, it's more related to like the patients not knowing what they've got or what they're giving them and them not knowing and all this kind of stuff. So they're blinded, double blinded and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of that kind of thing going on, which makes them better studies than say if hey, I'm just going to go study this. You know what I mean? Just somebody randomly looking at something and it's not controlled. And you do have protocols that are executed. So it's like, this is the protocol. But the thing is that gets me about it. So it's not all that. If you didn't have human beings and you were doing, like, if I do a lot of the investigations I do for drug like failures, like if we have a drug fail, I'll do a protocol to verify the validity of some kind of process or whatever.
Mm.
And I have to do a protocol in advance going, this is the science. Here's the prescribed protocol that I'm going to have all of the subject matter experts sign. I'm going to make it effective and everybody's going to agree to this. Yep, in order to pass, in order for this drug to be valid, you have to meet this and this and this and this and this. You write it ahead of time. You can't write it while you're doing it because you could just change it to whatever you want, right? So there are
Mm.
protocols that say this and this will pass. You execute, and then you look, yep, it met what I prescribed it had to meet, right? So the problem, and you can do that in vitro. If I'm doing that for a drug in the tube, you know what I mean, in the test tube, and I'm looking at it, the HPLC or whatever, it's like I can do a protocol, execute a method validation, and verify everything's good, right? You can't do that with a human because
Mm.
how can you control? Because control is the key about any scientific study. Control, control, control. You can't really control humans, and that never occurred to
Mm.
me. Like, you can't do that. That biological system is affected by whatever they're eating, and they're not following them around and telling them what to put in their mouth, or
Mm.
you know what I mean? And that just is kind of like a wild card. And some things, I think would be affected more than others, right? So, like a study with metabolic health, like if you're looking at some type of metabolic drug, it's like that's where it's really crazy because other types of things that affect the body in different ways might be easier because it's like an isolated system or, a different something else that's not as affected by diet. Now, that's a more
Mm.
valid study to me because what they do when they go home is not gonna, screw it up or whatever. So that's what I don't well, I understand, but it's like, I mean, because it's such a huge monolith industry. I mean, it's such big money. So
Mm.
but does that make sense? Like it how do you control it? It doesn't I don't understand. And that's my focus, and I constantly harp about it all the time because all of these, even the blood tests, like for instance, the hemoglobin A1C test, right?
Mm.
It's based on a span of 120, a red blood cell death at like 120 days, right?
Mm.
And they say, well, it could be I forgot what so it could be like 75 to 215.
Right.
It's like, wait a minute, if the number change, it's the day, if the length of time your red blood cells live, right, is
Mm,
way off of what the average is, then it's invalid. The results are invalid. You know what I mean? So, and that's
right.
an estimate, right? But but nobody ever talks about any of this stuff.
And you can't, that's something that you can't control for. So it's,
And you don't know. You don't know.
yeah.
Like, so you have to know how long a particular person, and like Ben Bickman, and I think the only people I've heard bring this up is Ben Bickman and and Ken Berry. He
Mm,
came up with he was talking about how fructosamine is way more valid because it's actually glycation of the albumin, mainly albumin, but other proteins. So, and that's like a matter of weeks instead of, because if you don't, your blood cells live longer. And Ben Bickman was proposing that, well, your blood cells might actually, if you're a carnivore, you might have blood cells that are longer lived, right? Like you're not at the 120. If you're not at the 120, it skews the results because people are freaking out about carnivores having higher, their A1C slightly going up a little bit. And I'm like, well,
mm,
you're basically, you put a blindfold on and you're kind of throwing at this target in the first place, right? Because you have no idea how long your blood cells live. So it's like, well, this looks good, that kind of thing. So I think you got to keep that in mind because,
mm,
and there's a lot of people who live and die by the blood test. I used to do them, and I mean, I was in the middle of all that, like development of blood tests and all, or development of a lot of things and development of drugs and the science end of it. And I don't, because
mm,
I kind of know there are better ones, there are better blood tests, and there are some tests that are just like, they are what they are. Might give you
right,
some information, but people freak out over these things, and they're literally like testing themselves I don't know, every day or every other day. They're freaking out over them, even though they see that their body is healed and they're seeing the results for themselves. But they kind of put more weight on the blood test sometimes, which I don't, you know what I mean? I
right,
don't think you
right.
should do. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the the thing you're mentioning about the A1C there, I think one of the other things that also comes to mind for me is all the blood tests, the normal ranges that these have are based on a sick population.
Yep. Yep.
So,
And
how do we know that they are actually optimal?
they just redefine normal, you know what I mean? Oh, it means this now. It's kind of like the blood pressure, and I don't remember the ranges, but it changed, and it just all of a sudden, it wasn't that long ago, I don't think, but it just kind of went like it's supposed to be like it's a lower range, like the low end is lower now.
Mhm.
So, or what, lower than it was, and all of a sudden, ooh, everybody needs to be on blood pressure medication. You know what I mean? How is that?
Right.
Isn't that convenient? I mean, come on. It's like, it's like really, and they do that with other, I think they did it with cholesterol too, which they
Yeah.
demonize the crap out of LDL, but it's like they did, I think, with no, no, it was LDL. I believe that
Yeah.
they lowered it. So it's supposed to be lower.
Mm.
It's like, oh,
And the thing is, as well, no one, for some reason, medicine, big pharma, everyone gets a pass on this. You
mm-hmm.
know, like any other industry, you'd be going, hang on,
Yeah.
that's dodgy. You know,
It's like,
you
because reasons, it's
mm.
like, "Why?" Well, it's and the answer
Because
is
reasons.
yeah, because if you ask them something, it's like, they'll look at you, it's like, what they're saying, when they give that look, like doctors, you ask them something, and they'll look at you, and the look is you're just way too stupid to understand anything I'm gonna say, and it's just very just haughty, and that's the way most of the doctors I've talked to have. I mean, I literally almost clocked this chick that I was seeing because she was like, "Well, I need you to go on." I had a thyroid problem, or my thyroid was screwed up back in long time ago. This is when I was still fat and everything. But I was like, "Well, I know enough to know that I need." I didn't know about carnivore, but I was like, I need iodine supplementation. I did figure that out, and so because I knew that we were eating a lot of bromine, and I'm like, well, I understand halogens, and it's sucking that up. It's making me sick. I'm toxic, whatever. And so I told her, I said, well, I think I'm just iodine deficient because I'm not eating iodine rich foods. And she looked at me like she goes, you can't do that, because I was going to supplement. instead of take levothyroxine. She goes, that's toxic. And I went, like, where on earth? I'm sitting here paying this chick, and I don't have any idea if she's ever been to medical school. Like, where did you come from? And I wanted to punch her. I did. I hated that woman. Hated. I'm using the word hate here. I hated that woman. And every time I'd go, she was like constantly trying to put me on a statin. And she diagnosed me with familial hypercholesterolemia.
Mm.
Okay. And that's due to a gene. Well, so they say, but if it's due to a gene, okay, are you testing to see if I've got that gene mutation? There's a
Mm.
test for it. No, that if you're like 2 points out of the range for an LDL value, they diagnose you with that you shouldn't be allowed to do that, because there's a test to confirm. Especially since you can eat some Oreo cookies and it can go through the roof. It's like, or actually go down. I can't remember what it went up or down. I think it down with the cookies. So it's like you eat some cookies and make it go down. So, and you're saying that it's familial. She didn't even know anything about my family. Like, honestly, like, I don't think
Right.
they had, you know what I mean? But that's crazy to me.
It's just pulling things out of,
Uh,
orifices that shouldn't have things pulled
yeah.
out of,
Yeah, and I
Um,
looked at her, and I just looked at her at one point, and I said, "You're making shit up. I mean, you just are. You really are." And she hated me. She didn't like me. But I haven't had to go to the doctor for 3 years. Since I went carnivore, I haven't been to a doctor at all,
mm.
and I
I
haven't
think
been
it
sick.
says
Haven't been sick at all.
I think it says something where you can go for such extended periods of time without getting sick,
Mhm.
and, the doctors are all telling you, "Oh, this is bad for you, you're gonna die," and your body's going,
Mhm.
"Woohoo, I'm doing
Mhm.
backflips. I'm great. I'm
I
fantastic."
know.
You
It's
know, I
crazy.
although I was on a live stream a couple of weeks ago boasting about how I've never been sick on Carnivore, and then, about a
Mm.
week after that, I got a cold.
I know. It's like, and if you have the least little pain when you go carnivore, you feel most people feel it feels so amazing. Like you feel like you're freaking 20. And then you'll get like this little pain and you turn into a hypochondriac. So you're like, oh my God, like, oh no, it's coming to get me. And you have this guilt, oh, the whole time it's like, no, they were always right. The LDL is
Mm.
coming to get me. It's gonna kill me. It's doing me in now. It's like I should have listened. It's like because the brainwashing is so strong. It's like even in
Mm.
the back of my mind, sometimes I'm like, it's like I'll just like, oh my God, like, what if they were right? Even though I know it's ridiculous, because I mean, why would you be able to cure like 7 different medical conditions? But so nutrient dense food is gonna cure everything else, but you're gonna have a heart attack for sure.
Right.
Like, it's gonna
And
ruin your heart, that doesn't make any sense.
that's the thing as well, it's like we are the only species that have got this time bomb implanted in us, so
I
that if we
know.
eat too much of one particular food,
Mhm.
we're
We're
just
just
all
gonna
gonna
die.
end our lives, yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
the
it's
only
crazy.
savior for us is pharmaceutical companies that have only been around for a few hundred years.
Yeah, it's like B12 for the vegans, you know what I mean? It's like, evidently the Walgreens were not obvious, like, that they had to go to. Well, yeah, the cave people, had a Walgreens we didn't know about to get their B12 because they were all vegans, right? So, yeah, you can't live
Yeah.
without B12. So that kinda tells you that, okay, you can't get it from plants? Okay,
Mm.
you know?
Y yeah. Um, so I saw okay. We got a question here from A. Kirby. I heard a lot of carnivore diet community eat bacon, but is bacon unhealthy? What is the healthiest type of bacon to have? Is it nitrate free, cured? Not that I really know what that is. I'm not a good person to ask about bacon because in Japan
You can't get
there's
it.
no real bacon. It's made out of
Uh,
soy
ugh.
and other weird things put together and painted pink to
Mm,
make it look bacon.
mhm.
Have you got any thoughts on this one, Liz?
Well, bacon, because it's cured. So if you're gonna cure something, like salt curing would be the best way to cure something, and
Mm.
historically, like, they would cure things with salt. You don't wanna cure things with sugar, because obviously sugar. But, bacon, depending on what it has in it, like, you can find it where there's some that don't have nitrites, And nitrates is a preservative. It's in a lot of things. I think in the scheme of thing, it's not the worst thing in the world, not the best thing in the world, but there are a lot worse preservatives. So and it depends on how much you're eating, right? So when you get but I would say if you get bacon, no, bacon's not unhealthy. Um, I will say pork in general bothers some people, and it is not a
Mm,
ruminant animal. So because it's not a cow, it's not beef, the toxins, you have more kind of muscle meat toxins and things that get through probably in pork because they're not ruminant, right? So if it doesn't bother you though, like I eat sometimes, it's like if I get a craving, I'll eat bacon like it's potato chips, and you could just see my family look at me going, "You're gonna die." I'm like, "Leave me alone. Let me eat my bacon." But I find it to be a really good, treat kinda thing. I love bacon. I could eat it, like, all the time. But, again, it does have they have to preserve it, so
right,
it's,
right.
but some of it's pretty clean. Like, you can get really clean bacon. So if you read it and you can pronounce everything there, it just says, pork or whatever, or bacon and, not a lot of sugar, then
Mhm.
no, it's not bad for you.
It's actually a good test. If you can read it, make sense of it, and pronounce everything,
Yep, yep. Yeah,
then
and
it's
you
probably
recognize
okay.
what it is. You recognize what it is, yeah, but nitrites, I mean, nitrites, like, not great, but again, it's chemicals. We don't need no stinking chemicals, you know what I mean? But unfortunately, there's meat that has but like, I agree with Dr. Berry, like, he says a lot of people's like, "Well, I can't eat processed meats," or I can't afford to eat like ribeye all the time," or it's like, but he says, "Well, if you eat bologna and hot dogs, and if you're on standard American diet and you go to bologna and hot dogs, even there's a bunch of crap in there, it's like you're 10 times better off," and that's
Mm,
true, I think,
mm,
which
mm, mm.
just look at the ingredients, I would say.
Yeah, nicely said. Linnea and Chuck Matson, love listening to Liz's videos. She has great knowledge to share, and she is so funny.
Thank
I would
you. That's so sweet.
agree.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Janice is 4 years carnivore and quit all doctors, all meds, and I have a life again. Congratulations, Janice.
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
great. I
Yeah.
don't ever get tired of hearing the success stories.
Yeah. It's oh, we got a Dr. Berry comment here. Dr. Berry, Janice says, Dr. Berry says bacon is good. B B B B. I can never do this properly. All the B's and eggs.
BBB and BBB. Quadruple B, yeah.
It's a tongue twister. 6 months when I did the standard diet. Nice.
Mhm.
Okay. We've got a question from Brooke. G'day, Brooke. I've heard that nitrates help your heart. Like we get nitric oxide from having nitrated bacon.
I I don't know. There's a lot of things that float out there, especially with chemical reactions that I mean, I'd have to look and see where that came from. You know what I mean? And why they said it and what the actual reaction is. Like, what is it
Mm,
reacting with and how and that kind of thing. I mean, I don't rule it out. I've never heard it, but that doesn't mean it ain't a thing. You know what I mean?
mm,
I
mm,
just
mm,
hadn't heard of that. But I don't,
mm,
like I said, I don't think like if you've got that in bacon, it's like it's not the end of the world type of thing. You know what? I speaking of things that scare me, actually, and people are talking about small amounts of preservatives and stuff,
mm,
is the freaking plastics. You know, that to me, like everybody's because I think that people know to stay away from preservatives or whatever, but oh my God, like the leaching of the plastics, the microplastics and all of that they're finding in like people's systems or whatever
mm,
that
mm.
because everything's convenient now. Like when it comes to like
Right.
nitrates and things like that, that to me is not, again, if everything was clean and perfect and that would be better, but unfortunately we live in a post-industrial world. So it's like, we can't really
Yeah.
get away with everything. You can only, you can be as clean as possible, but.
So speaking of stuff like that, like one of the things that always shocked me when I got to Japan was I mean, Japan uses a lot of plastic.
Mhm.
And you go you go and buy something that's already wrapped in plastic, and then they'll wrap it in
Mhm.
plastic again, and then put it in a bag for you, and then ask you if you
Mhm.
want a bigger bag to put it in. Um, but when I was growing up, I was always told when you put something in the microwave, don't put it in plastic. There was like, don't put metal in there, but
Mhm.
also don't put your food wrapped in plastic in
Mhm.
there because it's not good. The plastic's gonna kind of get into the
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
But in Japan, it's like they put everything in plastic in the microwave.
Well, I'd be interested to know what I would imagine. I'm guessing it's the same type of, uh God, I can't remember what that's made out of. There's different compound there's different plastics, made out of different things, and there's food grade and all that kind of stuff. But again, like, so the FDA is like, "Oh, okay, yeah." They said that the bottles that everything with the God, I'm having a brain fart. What is that? The
Like the plastic, the PET
BPE, yeah, yeah,
bottles.
the bis polyphenols. I think it's
Mm,
bis polyphenols. Like, so the plastic bottles used to have that bisphenol A or bisphenol A, I believe it was. I can't remember exactly, but it was a bad to have in the bottles, and they had to end up it's removed from most everything now. But I mean,
mhm,
they approved that. They were like, "Yeah, this is great. Here, let's water bottles, right?" And so it had that in it. It's like, okay, you didn't know that obviously until it started causing problems, right? Kind of like the cookware. Um, you have the forever chemicals
mhm.
that are coming, the PFAS or whatever that's coming out of the uh, linol acetyl the what do you call it? The Teflon coatings, are
Yeah.
toxic, right? So it's like I look at all of this packaging and go, yeah, well, you told me the Teflon was good and you told me that the bottles were good and you were wrong about all of that. So I don't know when it comes to food chemistry or packaging or regulatory tests and things that you do, or the required tests to do for packaging and stuff. I don't know exactly what they're doing or how they're doing it or how they stress it. I would hope to God, but I mean, I've seen the food industry. I worked in the supplement industry, so
Mm.
and that was part of food or whatever, but I've seen how they do things, so I wouldn't be at all surprised if they're using a lot of plastic and they have no earthly idea what it's doing to us. You know what I mean? Or they're doing just enough testing to kind of get by because they've screwed everything else up. So it's like, yeah, screwed up the Teflon was a bad idea, and then the bottles were a bad idea, and then you used to prescribe smoking to people for anxiety. So I mean, you just wrong, 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 wrong.
Right,
But
right.
but no, it's like now it's like, oh my God, and everything's so new, like, everybody's innovating, coming up with new ways to package things, and, it's like and the cleanliness of it I like, but I think it's, gonna cause problems down the line, so that scares me more than, like, nitrates in bacon are less
Mm.
scary, you know what I mean? Like, and the thing is, a lot of people go carnivore, and they try to go extreme perfection, like, and they'll freak out like, "That has something," and there's things you should freak out more for than others, like corn syrup, you should never get near.
Right, right.
But, like, here's an example, I think, and I'm not 100% sure. I know this didn't kick me out of ketosis, but LMNT, had a while back, they add maltodextrin as a carrier, but it's a negligible amount, so it's not when you have formulations for drugs or food or anything, like, you're not required to tell people what your entire formulation is, and sometimes that's bad and sometimes that's
Mhm.
okay, but in that case, they had a little bit of maltodextrin. It's really a negligible amount based on what I could tell from everything that they were saying. Negligible amounts of certain things are not bad. It's something you don't want to get a lot of, and it didn't kick me out of ketosis. If it was significant enough, it would have kicked me out of ketosis. I actually tested it to see.
Mhm,
So,
mhm,
I mean, that's the way
mhm.
you can approach it is like, a lot of times even other types of chemicals that are not like carb related, like sugars, will kick you out of ketosis. Like weird things, if I ever get a hold of something weird, it kicks me out of ketosis. So even if it's
Mm,
supposed to be
mm.
like sugar free, if it's got too many chemicals in it, which tells you, some things have more impact than others. But
Right, right.
you know,
Um, yeah, it's pretty scary when, they've got that agency, the acronym in America, which is the generally recognized as safe or that standard. And like
Grasp. Yeah.
that's just code for hasn't
Mhm.
killed enough people yet to be
Yeah.
significant.
Yeah. If it was a sound, it would sound like, you know, just like, eh, you know. But yeah,
Yeah.
generally recognized as safe. What's funny is they use it for drugs and they use it for food additives. So both. It's like so they had a big old list of drugs and they're like, it's okay. I mean, we've been taking it for a long time, you know. Look at Tylenol, for instance. I mean, Tylenol, though, people are shocked, like, "Oh, Tylenol's harmful." It's like it's been killing people's livers forever. Like they knew that. Like that wasn't, you know. So when it comes to like other long-term effects in pregnant women and all the kind of stuff they're saying, it's like I don't doubt it. It's like I'm sure a whole bunch of stuff does that. You know, there's a bunch of drugs that I'm
Mm.
sure does, you know, would have impacts like that or cause problems with pregnant women, and you know, because it's just so many. It's just like a big chemical stew, you know. But
And they can't ethically test drugs on pregnant women, no?
mm,
Or can they?
that seems like I had and I've never been involved in a trial that did. That's a good question. I'd have to look that up to see how they did because I know that they approve drugs that they would like certain treatments. I think it the way it would work is that if you had some kind of niche something or another that was a treatment for a pregnant person, I think
Mm.
they would have to do it in a certain way, or it'd have to be a risk reward type of thing, I would bet you, and I don't know 100%,
Right.
but I
Mm.
bet you they would have to have a risk reward. It's kind of like if you have like if you have an emergency treatment or something or some kind of emergency drug that you're trying to get pushed through or something. It's probably along those lines, but again, I've never had to mess with any of that, so
Right, right.
thankfully, but, you know.
Um, so there's a bit of a success story here.
Oh,
Janice, I've been taking tramadol for 11 years for fibromyalgia and chronic pain. I've been carnivore for a little over a week and already noticed a huge decrease in pain. I almost cannot believe
girl,
it. Awesome.
I relate to that. I took it for, I think, 17 years. And I took that for 17 years for fibromyalgia, which is a diagnosis code because they don't know. They literally poke you in the I don't know if she this is what they did. They literally just poke you in the back and say, "Does that hurt? Does that hurt? Does that hurt?" to diagnose you with that. And that's not I'm not making that up. I'm not making that up.
How
They literally poke you and
scientific.
see if there's yeah, isn't it? Isn't it? I'm like, "What are you, my brother?" It sounds like something at the dinner table, you know? It's like, "Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself." But they poke me. So because they didn't know what was wrong, right? So 17 years on tramadol, you know, which is an opioid, right? And I just thought, well, the rest of my life, I guess I got to take this, you know, and it can do whatever damage it's going to do. In 3 days, I noticed a relief, but 2 weeks, I did not, I have not touched. No, I'm sorry. It might have been 2 months that I went off completely, but I started you know, I was lessening what I was taking within that 2 months, and again, I should have written this down, but I'm almost positive it was about 2 months that I actually went off of it for good after I started
Mm.
carnivore. 17 ye it was either 15 or s it was I think it was 17 years, because my daughter was
Wow.
born, so, yeah, yeah, if you I hope to God that you have the same results that I do and you don't have to touch that stuff anymore because that was
Mm.
amazing. You feel like you're a prisoner, like, well, I can never be I always have to be chained to this medication because I couldn't function. Like, I mean, if I didn't have it, I couldn't I wasn't, like, addicted to it. It was a different type of drug than the other ones, but it was the only thing that worked, and I would hurt all over, and it was so miserable, so I that's great news. I love hearing that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Let me see if there's any other questions here. Um, so from Tammy, hey, just found your channel this week. I'm new to carnivore. Keep going. You've got
Mhm.
this. No, oh, I've got the thumbs up bubbles popping up here. Um, okay. Da, da, da. We've got a lot of chat about bacon today. It's a bacon kind of day. Oh, okay. And then just as a follow-up, Janice says, "Thank you so much. Fingers
Mhm.
crossed."
Yeah,
Yeah.
keep it up.
Yeah. That's awesome. Um, so how long have you been carnivore now, Liz?
3 let's see, it'll be the Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving, it'll be 3 years. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. So we've been similar times. Is
When
there
did you where are you at now? What
I started
or
June
when will you be like
22.
June of
So
22? Okay.
yeah, so I'm just over 3 years.
Okay.
Um, and I think for me, it's got to the point where I even if I saw a food and I went, "Oh, oh, I'd really like
Mhm.
that. I really like that cake or that donut," or, "Well, those Krispy Kreme donuts, that aroma doesn't smell like
Mhm.
chemicals at all. It smells so sweet." Even if I got to that point, I
Mhm.
I couldn't go back because I
Mm-mm.
can't imagine living a life where I
Mm.
would feel hungry all the time.
Mm-mm, and it's a oh, and that's like the minute that you put I don't know if it's for you, but I was addicted to food, like a sugar addict, and really, I mean, I would eat other things, like, I was addicted not just to sugar well, I mean, it is a sugar, like, it's carb addict, basically. So, I would, like I said, cream horns were my kryptonite. Those are just just shouldn't exist. This is wrong.
Is
It's
that
like
like
a
a pastry with cream in the middle or
yeah,
something?
yeah, and they squeeze the lardy, and it's the Crisco and the sugar lard, like because you have 2 types of icing in America, okay, for birthday cakes. You've got the, whipped, they call it whipped, okay, and this is like it's less sugary, and I'm not even 100% what's in it. It's a chemical stew of something, but it's less scary than the Crisco and sugar ones,
Mm,
but I love that crap.
mm, yeah. Oh, sorry, what was that? I'm 3 years carnivore too. Feel great. I don't look at what I used to eat as
Mhm.
food anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't you look at it like, "Ooh," like, so even if it like, we have donuts at work, they'll bring donuts in, and I'm just looking at it, and I know that I don't even know if it would taste right if I did cheat or whatever, but I know the pain will be back, and there's nothing worth that pain. Nothing is worth all that pain and suffering, and so I look at it more like somebody would look at, rat poison. You know what I mean? Like, I'll look at something, it's like I remember it, I used to enjoy it, but to me, it looks like poison now because it is, you
Mm,
know?
yeah.
It really is poison, so it's poisonous or toxic, so
Yeah. When your pronunciation of or your accent when you say donut, it takes me back to my high school years. In high school, I
Oh.
had an American geography teacher, and he when there was kids acting up in the class, he used to say, "Do you want a Hertz donut?" Uh, I can't. My pronunciation doesn't do it justice, but like he would joke with the
Yeah.
kids and said, "Do you know what a Hertz donut is?" And it's when you smack someone on the head and
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah,
say to
yeah, yeah.
them, "Hertz donut."
That's funny. Yeah, I have a lot of my southern, well, it's funny, I grew up here, okay, in South Carolina, and it's like so I had the twang. I got it back, really. So then I moved to Florida for like 11, 12 years or whatever, and, I sound like a newscaster. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know what Florida does to you, but I had no accent. It took all of my accent away, and I sounded like I could work on the news because you're not supposed to have any kinda they get rid of or they used to. I don't know if they trained to do that or whatever. But then I came back and I'm around, a lot of, Southern speaking people, so so now it's like this one chick at work, she's like shouldn't say, like, pen that you write with, like a pen, you know,
Uh-huh.
and she'll say, "Ain't pen." And it's like people talk about Southern hospitality and stuff. It's a lot to get used to again, but it's like people talk about Southern hospitality, and it's like, no, you have some lady, looking at another lady, and it's like they sound sweet, but really they're a little bit evil because they're like, "Girl, you look so cute with those gauchos and boots. You just slay." And they sound so sticky sweet, but they'll say the most awful things, and it's just like, I don't know. No, I love Southerners. I do. My family are all Southern. I'm Southern, But I feel like I lost a lot of that, but it's coming back. It's creeping back in. So now that I'm back.
Nice. So Stags has a question. How much protein to fat ratio? I gained weight last time. Second attempt after 14 months off, quit because of peer pressure from my doctor. Do leverage fat to lose weight and increase to gain weight. So, interesting. My thoughts on this is I don't measure anything. I don't worry about
Mhm.
anything as long as I'm not eating carbs. But what are your thoughts, Liz?
Well, I talk about this a lot where people try to prescribe like this many macros and this much this and this much of that and all that kind of stuff. And I think that the thing that you have to really the only thing to remember and then you have to tweak some things, okay? But it's not because somebody tells you to. It's because you need to and you kind of know what you need. So, and I will say one thing I can do, I can overeat fat. Now, a lot of people tell you you can't overeat on carnivore. Oh, yes, you can. You can if you're an idiot food addict like I was. So I can, and I love butter. There's this memes of like Paula Deen, like eating a stick of butter, like, and I don't eat it like that, but I mean, I drown my food with it and stuff a lot of times. And I love butter, and I think it's very healthy. It helps my hormones, and it help me heal, and it's good for me to do high fat carnivore. But you can take that, and you kind of know, like Chafee says, well, you're going to get nauseous, and you're not typically going to overeat on carnivore. It's true, typically, but idiots like me, yeah, I can do it. So I did notice that I've had weight gain, and something else when I would eat heavy cream causes me to gain a little weight. I don't know exactly why. I think I was just overdoing it, but you can still overdo carnivore foods. So the thing about the fat to protein ratio is that what's interesting, if you're worried about weight gain, you can do a fat fast where you are eliminating protein and you just do fats, right? You got to make sure the protein, obviously there's no carbs, but the protein is really low, right? It has to be
Mm.
super, super low. Um, I lost 9 pounds in like a week or something. I did it. I did a video like showing it or whatever, talking about it. It was nuts. I mean, or you can, that's why that sugar thing, like if you do the sugar fast, like you're eliminating everything else kind of thing. But
Mm.
that helps for weight gain. Or you can do, now the thing about eating just the high protein and getting rid of everything else, you get protein only. That's called rabbit starvation. I mean, if you did it for a long period of time. But if you did it for a short period of time, just eating the protein and leaving out the fat and obviously no carbs, that's enough, without saying, but that would help you lose weight. That does work all of the
Mm.
time. Now, when you're trying to do carnivore, carnivore is always high fat, relatively speaking. Like, but some people, depending on how much you're eating, you have to make sure you do what your body needs, what feels the best, right? And watch your weight gain. So if you start to gain weight, adjust it, but do it for yourself. Don't listen to somebody go, well, I had to do 30 grams of this and 40 grams, whatever, because they're different micro universes. Their thing's not going to necessarily work for you as far as ratios go.
Mm.
But there is no, I don't think really carnivore is always higher fat, but that doesn't mean you're eating 10 sticks of butter a day. You know what I mean? So if you just adjust it slightly, and you understand the mechanism for the weight loss part is that if you can play with it if you're only fat, but if you're eating fat and protein and it's too much for your body, then you're going to store fat. So it's just a lot of
Mm.
adjustments, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the best way of looking at it is you've got to work out what works for you.
Hmm.
Because yeah, as you say, you can watch people
Hmm.
eating 10 sticks of butter and you think, "Oh, well,
Hmm.
I'm gonna do that too
Yeah.
because that must be the way it works." And
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I do that, I'm gonna be in the
Oh, you end
bathroom
up
all day, you know?
that's right. That's right. And I've done that. Like, so I'm kind of addicted to ketones, which is, I need a support group or something. And I'll do butter and I do this horrible thing. I drink coffee. Like I went off of coffee and actually I felt better and all this kind of, and somehow it keeps, I don't know, it just like a bad penny. It keeps turning up and I'm weak, around coffee or whatever. But, and I drink it here and there. But the reason I couldn't stop, or I did stop, but then I went back to it some, is it's the easiest way to get added fat to your diet. If you're busy and you need nutrition and you need fat, you put butter in coffee and it's super good. I mean, it's yummy, yummy, yummy. I mean, millions of Tibetan monks can't be wrong, right? I think they used to do that. But it's like, it's so good. So it's easy for you to get nutrition that way. But uh, the butter and stuff, like if I just eat the butter, it's like I can lose, if I ever needed to lose weight, like, if I'm fluctuating, then that helps me do it because I'm only getting the butter, right? Because if
Mhm.
you try to eat just fat, if you try to do a fat fast, it's hard to do because what are you going to eat that
Mm.
doesn't have protein in it? You know what I mean? And the only thing I can think of is ribeye trimmings that you would fry up, and I'd eat the crap out of those. I mean, I would just, that would be a delicacy to me, right? But I can't get them from any butchers around here. Like, they won't
Right.
sell them to me. So it's kind of so that's the reason I went back to coffee. But if you can just adjust it. And like I said, that's a hack. You can go protein only, you can go fat only, and you will lose weight. But again, like, don't eat if you're not hungry. And that's one of the hardest things for me that I had to learn what people think is hunger is not hunger. And you eat a lot of times because you like the food, and I love steak, you know,
Mm.
I love
Mm.
meat. So,
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I learned about my hunger was it
mm,
wasn't hunger at all. It
mm-mm,
was I just trained myself to eat things in certain situations. So if I was
mm-hmm,
in a stressful situation trying to work through a coding problem, for example, in front of
mm-hmm.
the computer, that was the time I would eat this thing,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
So if I didn't
Habits.
have that thing, I would feel hungry, and it's like, well, actually, that's
Mm-hmm.
not hunger. That's like
Mm-hmm.
some kind of emotional problem you're going
Yeah.
through.
And that's hard, and I think a lot of people don't address that. I've done, videos on the whole psychological side of it, is that we're trained breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that crap that the ad agency started back when Kellogg's was pushing all that cereal out, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That's a lie. That has nothing to do, I mean, honestly, that was just made up. It was made up by an agency, but everybody that I knew believed that. They still believe. People at work, if I did a poll, they probably would agree with that. Most of the people in the building would probably agree with that. But we were 3 times a day, and that's another thing, like, for most carnivores, and I'm not, I don't know about you, Dave, but most that I've talked to would never eat 3 times a day unless they're eating teeny weeny meals, which I don't,
Mm,
you know what I mean? Like, but they don't eat 3 times a day. And a lot of carnivores are OMAD, not because they're trying to be, it's just because they're not hungry but once a day, because it's so filling, and it depends on what you're doing. Now, I would imagine that people who do serious weightlifting, or they're expending tons of, energy, it's like they might have to eat more or something. But
mm.
that's how much fuel you need, that kind of thing. But
Right, yeah, and I
so,
agree, it's like that this is one of the biggest things that I see people, I think it's a problem when people start carnivore, is they start carnivore and they go, "I'm gonna do carnivore and
mhm.
intermittent fasting." And
Oh, yeah.
so I'm gonna I'm gonna do 1 meal a day, and it's like,
Mm.
that's kind of
Mhm.
the wrong approach.
Yep.
You're doing too many things at one time, like, you're
Mhm.
juggling too many balls at once, you
Yeah.
know?
It's
You
already,
yeah, you just need to start carnivore, eat how you would regularly, and then you'll get this
Mhm.
feeling for, "Oh, well, I'm not actually hungry
Mhm.
anymore in the afternoon or the evening, so I'm just gonna stop
Yep.
eating then," and the intermittent fasting happens naturally.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, like, people don't do it on like, I'm doing
Mhm.
OMAD, it's like
Mhm.
it is so simple, but there's so many voices out there going, "You gotta do this, and you gotta do that, and you gotta do," "You gotta eat this much of this macro and blah, 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 blah," or whatever. It's like, "No, no." You just gotta
Right.
you gotta and I always tell my daughter-in-law, I'm like, I'll go in there and they've just wrecked the kitchen, and I'm like, "Oh," you know? And I just turn around like, what? It's like, oh, I'm so glad I don't have to deal with this anymore. I don't have to wash. I don't have a bunch of sauce bowls and a bunch of this pan to make this side and this pan to make. And it's like pan, meat, knife. That's it,
Right.
and
Right.
that is you can't go back to that. That's another reason I ain't going back to food is like I would never go back to that cooking stuff again. And I do make recipes occasionally that are carnivore recipes to do something different, but it's like you don't have to do that. Like most of the time, it's just easy peasy, meat. That's it, or eggs or whatever.
Mm.
So, but if you want something, I mean, definitely, I mean, you can do recipes because I have to break it up even occasionally. But man, I remember like I got triggered. Oh my God, like that is the last thing you needed to ask me when because I'm working. I was a working mom and everything, and I come home, it's like, what's for dinner? And I'm like, like I still have PTSD about being asked, what's for dinner? It's like, it's like, I don't know and I don't care. It's like I don't want to cook dinner because that's the last thing you want to do being a professional person. Like you work all day long and then you come home and it's like you've got to cook a meal and it has to be entertaining for everybody. It's not sustenance
Mm.
because they're like, I don't want that. And you'd have two kids and then one would want one thing, one would want the other. And it's like, that is one of the
How
best parts of carnivore.
this is really interesting. Like, and all kids are like this. I don't want. Oh, we had that. I've eaten that too much. I don't want to have
It's
that again.
entertainment. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's what animals? What what kittens? What baby
Yeah.
goats? What baby
Mhm.
anything says to their mum, "Oh, I'm not eating this again."
Mm. Yeah, they eat
There's
when
no
they're hungry.
lion cubs going, "Oh, the gazelle again."
Mhm. Yeah.
I've had it with this.
It's like, "This is so boring." Yeah. And that's what I keep telling my kids or whatever, which great news though, my daughter, she's had problems with, headaches and things and not sleeping for a while now, and
Mm,
finally, she went to so many doctors and racked up so many bills, and guess what happened? Oh, what I told her was gonna happen. I said, "They are not going to help you, and you're gonna waste your money," because, that generation, she's 20 years old, so it's like that generation is trained that you should just go to the doctor, heck, for the hell of it, a couple times a year, just in case. Even
mm,
if you don't,
mm.
whatever, if you don't need to. And so she went through all these doctors. She finally got desperate enough to go carnivore. So she's been carnivore for like 2 or 3 days now or whatever.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, finally, it's like you might actually help yourself. I can't predict the future, but it's like you might fix your sleeping problems or whatever. And now she did, and I told her, I said, you got to tell me when you cheat. I said, because it's going to kick you out of ketosis. I said, and you got to understand what's happening when you do cheat, because you're going to cheat. I'm sure you're going to cheat because she's 20. 20-year-olds, oh my God, they would spend most of their paychecks on DoorDash. I mean, these people that in that generation are so addicted to food. The only way that or especially in this country, the only way really, and I think you've probably seen that when you've had younger people on your show, it's usually someone with a significant health problem and
Mm,
they can't take it anymore. And then they try carnivore and then they're really happy with it. Well, she had to get to the point. It's not a serious her issues are not that serious, but it's serious enough to make her miserable half the time.
mm, mm.
So young people especially have to get to that misery point before they do anything. So she's at that. So I'm hoping, keep my fingers crossed for her that she'll be able to keep doing it. But she's gonna have a lot of peer pressure, because her boyfriend eats crap. So you know.
Yeah, the thing is, if she sticks with it though, then
Mhm.
everyone else, including maybe the boyfriend, are going to go, "Oh,
Mhm.
you're
Yeah, because
getting
he has a
really good
laundry list.
results with this."
Yeah, and he has a laundry list of things that I know carnivore would cure, and I tell him periodically. I mean, they're engaged or whatever, so it's like I'm just mother-in-law that he never knew that he never wanted kind of thing because he's like, he'll come in and talk about his eczema, and I'm like, would have fixed that, right? It's like, oh please, everybody's like, oh God, here she goes again. Like people where it's like I see something, it's like skin tags. I'm like, what would fix that, right? They're like, please leave me alone. It's like, and I'll just look at people now and they're like, I know, carnivore will fix it. I know. It's like, please go
Yeah.
away. But
You just imagine, being frightened.
mm.
I'm not going round to my mother-in-law's house. I've broken my leg, and she's going to tell me that the carnivore would fix it.
Yeah, she'll see me eating a potato chip and she'll smack me or something, it's like, "No, no, 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 you do everybody's gotta do their thing." And a lot of people, like these younger people, it's like they I'm not saying they can't do it, I'm saying it's really hard. It's harder for
Mm,
them than it is for people who are older,
mm,
because they're just it's a generation where I mean, honestly, I've never seen people spend so much money on DoorDash. And they're eating for sport,
right.
they're just eating for they get bored and they'll spend hundreds of dollars on not only are they eating garbage, but they won't even go out and get it themselves, they have to have it delivered, so,
And
it's hard.
as when we were growing up, we didn't have all the social media that's basically celebrating all of this stuff, right? So, or
Mhm.
or normalizing all of this stuff.
Yep.
So when we've gone carnivore, it's kind of a lot easier to get away from the food because there's less social
Mhm.
stigma.
Yeah, and we watched, like, cable well, I did, like, I'm old enough to, like, cable, or, TV, like, TV, like, they would show an ad, and you'd see a burger in your face, like, every now and then, you'd be like, "Oh, I gotta have McDonald's." I mean, it makes you want to go get food, right?
Mhm,
But,
mm.
they're they're just bathed in it. I mean, everywhere they turn, it's like food, 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 it's all processed garbage, but so it's hard, I know. My son did
Yeah.
say I was happy my son's 23, he just turned 23, and he did say the other day and again, so these kids he's the one who said something about my daughter, they tried to put her on the SSRI for depression when she just needed to sleep. She wanted to try to she had insomnia, and
Mm.
and then so they tried to put her on SSR, and she was talking about, like, "I don't know why they're trying to put me on this garbage because I'm just having sleep trouble." And he goes, "Oh, they wouldn't do that. A doctor wouldn't do that." So, he's like he's one of the brainwashed kinda like he's been raised to believe, "Well, doctors, they wouldn't no, never do that." It's like, no, they're feeding them to people like they're candy, and I was telling him that. But, so he's very. And he literally, honest to God, this is the funniest freaking thing. I didn't laugh out loud because I didn't wanna make him feel bad. But I was talking to him about something nutrition related, and he goes, "I don't know about that." He picks up his phone and he Googles the question. And I'm like, "Have you ever thought where, Google's not a god? Like, there's actual do you know where the information comes from if you Google something?"
Mm,
And he
mm.
goes, "Well, actually, it says it was heart disease or something. Actually, it says that increased cholesterol causes heart disease." That's just what he notified me of after he Googled it because I was talking about cholesterol. And so this is the guy. Okay, so that was like several months ago. Well, this is a guy just the other day when he turned 23. He looks at me. He's standing outside and he goes, "Yeah, I think the carnivore diet is probably the superior diet for humans."
Uh,
For humans, he just, like, has this epiphany. He was looking at a rabbit in the backyard. I don't know if he wanted to eat the rabbit or what, but he was just, like, had this epiphany, and I'm like, "Oh my god." So, the earth is the shit is shifting, the landscape is shifting because
mm,
people are but they see me, and I was, like, in the bed, never leaving the house, 100 pounds overweight, and their mama was miserable,
mm.
and quality of life was in the crapper, and everything changed and I've got more energy than they do. So it's
Yeah.
like, how can you see that and go, and not understand
And
that it's
and
working,
go,
you know?
"Nah, it can't be the lettuce that did that."
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Um, so we had, one other question here from Dala. Do either of you use a CGM? I never have.
I don't, because, uh, now what I do is I am like I said, I chase ketones. I think I have a problem because and I check my glucose during that time. So I
Mm,
check it periodically just because I'm a nerd and I'm just like, ooh, I'm just looking at the relationship between ketones and glucose. And the reason I do it is because a lot of times I will feel like freaking Wonder Woman. I mean, I feel like a superhero. Like I could go
mm,
pick a car up. It's the most amazing, like supercharged feelings. And every time I feel that way, and I don't do it as much, I don't do the testing as much anymore. Every time I feel that way, I will test my glucose and my ketone level in my blood. And my ketones will be like 5 or 3.5 or something like that. And my glucose is, I don't know, it can be like 70 or 80. It depends on how long ago I ate. But that is, I mean, honestly, like, it's like being on, it's like you feel like you're just in charge, supercharged with jet fuel or something. It is the ketosis is amazing. So I
Mm.
test my blood because I'm interested when that happens, just from a scientific perspective, just for me. Like, wow, I'm just checking to see it's there again. I feel it again. And I feel good, all the time on carnivore. Like, I have energy most of the time, but sometimes you're just like, and and it's like, and the thoughts are coming, especially creatively. Like, I'll have so many thoughts. I can't remember them. Like, I have to write them down because they're coming so fast, and I had 2
Mm.
books sit there for 2 years, or not 2 years. I mean, for years, like from 2008 when I published the first novels or whatever. I started the other 2, the sequels to both of them. I don't know why I write 2 books at once. I'm psychotic, but so I'm working on these 2 fiction novels and the sequels, and I just dried up like nothing, and then
Mm.
that's the one thing for carnivore. When carnivore, like, I started all this, and it was this ketosis started happening. And oh my God, like, I'm having all of these ideas. I have so many ideas. I don't even know which direction to take the sequels now. They're about half done, each one of them, but it's like having the now, but where you didn't have any ideas, now you have so many, you're not sure which
Right.
way to go with it. So that is why I test my ketones and glucose in my blood. But I do it with
Mm.
like Keto Mojo. I don't do the CGM. But I mean, if you had problems, I guess, with diabetes, or I don't know if it's like you're early on and you wanted to track it. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing, but
Mm.
again,
Mm.
like, be careful with the blood, just everything a blood test all the time kind of thing,
Mm.
because,
Mm. Mm.
go by really more what you feel, in my opinion. This is my opinion, but it's like, I feel like what you feel like is more importantly. If you need to track something like that, then you can. Or if you're just a nerd like me and you just want to, I mean, that's
Mm.
perfectly fine. It's good to get data, about yourself. So I think they're really kind of expensive. I thought about getting one once just for the, but they were kinda pricey, so,
Yeah,
and I have the
they're
thing, so yeah.
priced in like short periods as well. Like I've never
Uh,
used one, but I was speaking to someone else the other day. It's like $100 for 2 weeks. It's
oh,
like
you have to
quite.
subscribe, and you have to get the, yeah, it's like a subscription, like Netflix or something, but more expensive. So I have to I'm pretty sure you do. I mean, you guys probably know more about it than I do, but, yeah, I saw it was pricey, and I don't
Mm.
really need to go nuts on it, but
Yeah. Um, so we've hit the 1 hour mark. So I think we might finish up the live stream soon. Guys, if you've got any other questions that you'd like us to hit quickly, please chuck them into the oh, I've just seen a comment there. Hang on. I'll flash that up in screen in a moment. Yeah, if you've got any questions you'd like us to get to, please put them in now. And Sly Funny Dogs is just saying, why isn't the thumbs up button not, why isn't the thumbs up button not working? It's weird.
mm,
Sometimes you've got to click it like 3 times or something for it to register, or yeah, and it often acts differently whether you're on mobile or you're on a computer or
mm.
something like that. So yeah, it's a bit weird. Um, but yeah, so what have you got coming up for the weekend, Liz?
Probably making more videos, avoiding cutting grass for sure. Yeah, that's like, I don't know. But yeah, coming up with some different ideas for video. I not working on a novel, that's for sure, because I don't really know where to go with it. But I'm working on some new videos, on like educational videos and stuff.
Mhm.
Or trying. I love putting out that type of content, busting the narrative type of stuff. So
Right, right. Oh,
yeah.
nice. Well, to everyone that's joined us today, we've got 122 people in the stream at the moment.
That's
Thank you
great.
so much for joining us. really appreciate you coming in with your questions, your chats, and just watching us talk about carnivore. And yeah, anything from you, Liz?
No, I love the fact that, the community aspect of this whole movement, you know what I mean? It's just great, honestly, because everybody's under so much peer pressure. It's nice to, have like minds, discuss all of this stuff. So, and if you ever have it, you shoot me any questions anytime, and I'm happy to answer them, as to the best of my ability. So, thank you so much for having me, though, Dave.
Awesome. And yeah, if you're on my channel, guys, please head over to Carnivore Science and give Liz a subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful weekend, everyone.